Hey guys, Jamusomama here with another squad guide, this time with a LAT and HAT guide. We will first go over the differences between the two, then we will go over the different terms and what different projectiles are used for. Then we will go over the LAT, then HAT rules, while looking over the different launchers and optics. Finally, wrapping up with some knowledge I picked up playing these rules. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and please do consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
Okay, so before we get started, I just want to go over some of the common terms in using LATs and HATs, or light anti-tank, heavy anti-tank. I just want to go over the different terms in there, stuff we're going to be using in the video, and also the differences between LATs and HATs. So LATs have weaker rockets meant for soft targets like infantry or lightly armored vehicles like MAV-Vs, transports, and Logis. HATs have more powerful rockets used against medium and heavy vehicles such as Bradleys, BMPs, and tanks. Frag is a fragmentation round, infantry only. HE is high explosive, infantry only. It's a Canadian round only also. Heat is heavy explosive anti-tank, light armored vehicles. Can track or disable heavy vehicles if needed. Tandem rounds are for heavy armored vehicles. Heavy armored vehicles are the priority, and then you can hit small vehicles once and they will be blown up. The NLAW is for heavy vehicles / helis, uses PLOS and direct attack. We'll go over those later. So let's go over the LATs first. So before you even hop into the LAT, you can see when you click you're going to get two different prompts. I like to go to roll loadout just because it gives you a little bit more of a description of the class that you're role that you're picking. So with the AT4, the only difference between these launchers, the AT4 and the LAW, is the AT4 has better penetration capability than the LAW does. That is literally the only difference. They have the same scope, they have the same ranging, and everything. So we're only going to go over the AT4, just because it's a little bit stronger, it's a little bit cooler. And so let's hop into it. Let's shoot 1 or 2 rounds out of it, and let's go over the next launcher. Okay, so this is the AT4. It's pretty basic. When you scope in, you have this very basic scope. You hold X and use the scroll wheel to range with it. It's pretty basic. You generally don't want to shoot at a heavy or a heavy vehicle, but you shoot at it anyways. So yeah, that's pretty basic. It's the same as the LAW. Hold X, zoom in, pretty basic. One thing I forgot to mention is that the AT4 has a 500-meter range and the LAW has a 400-meter range. They both have an arming distance of 25 meters. I just forgot to mention the range difference on those two as well. So now we're going to hop over to the Russians and we're going to check out the RPG-26 and the RPG-7V2. So with the RPG-26, its use is regular armor, so that's yellow and below. Ranging is 250 meters, terrible sight picture, and the arming distance is again 25 meters like all launchers. RPG-7V2 is light armor, 500 meters. It has a PGO optic, has Stadia Ranger like binos, but they include the turret, 2.7 meters. So I'll go over what that means in a sec because I bet you I just hit you with a bunch of stuff. And that's a 25 arming distance on that as well. So let's go over with the less complicated one, which is of course the RPG-26. So with the RPG-26, the first thing that you're going to notice when you pick up this launcher and you zoom in, you're going to see this very atrocious sight. You can see that you can go all the way down to 50 meters, and when you go to 100, it gives you this, which is something. you can go all the way up to 250, which is not good at all. You can, as with the AT4, you can go up to 500, and the Law you can go up to 400. So you're not getting much range with this at all. And with this, again, with this 100-meter sight, it is very bad. So yeah, that's the RPG-26. Again, it's with the LATs. You generally want to shoot light vehicles with this, not BMPs, but that's okay. Okay, so now let's hop over the RPG-7V2. This one is a little bit different. I'm gonna have to hop over to Photoshop to show you guys a little bit further, because when you first hopped in, this is probably why you're looking up the video, is because of this. I'm going to explain all of this for you, what each thing means, and show you how to properly aim this weapon for each round. Okay, so let's hop right into it. So just warn you guys, I'm not that good at Photoshop. I'm just trying to illustrate you guys a little bit better what I'm trying to point at and stuff like that. So the first thing I want to point out to you guys is this guy right here. So the first thing that you're going to notice is this 2.7. If you guys are familiar with this in the binoculars, you're going to know that this number usually says 1.7. So with, I think, yeah, 1.7. So with 2.7, that is 2.7 meters. So that is a vehicle plus its turret. So this is a ranger for vehicles. So as you can probably tell, this 2 is 200 meters. So if you put the bottom of the track or bottom of the wheels of a vehicle right here, and the top of the turret is touching here, that means it's 200 meters away. Same goes for 400. So this is just a manual ranger to see how far the vehicle is away from you. So now we're going to hop into the different rounds and stuff like that. So the only round that shoots different with this scope is the tandem round. So I would just want you guys to take that out of your head for a sec. We're going to go over all the other rounds. So all the other rounds use the exact same basic shooting icons or identifiers. I don't know how to say it. So this is a 50-meter mark. This little guy here is your 100-meter mark. This line is going to be your 200. This line is your 300. This line is your 400. This line is your 500. As you can see by these numbers here will help you remember which is which. The only two that you gotta remember is the big one's 50, the little one's 100, and then it goes 200, 300, 400, 500, indicated by the numbers. And when the vehicle is stationary, you want to use the center line to hit the target. Okay, you don't want to go out on the graph, because what this graph is for vehicles that are moving. So if a vehicle is moving at, say, 10 miles an hour, if you can try to guess that, you want to go with the 1. If it's moving at 22, 33, 44, 55, goes on and on. So, and it also goes on the other side. So if the vehicle is moving, you can use that. However, I still don't recommend using it. It's very hard to hit a moving vehicle. But just for a rule of thumb, Logis typically go 40, and like heavy armored vehicles aren't going to go past 30 and aren't going to go past 20. So try to hit, if it's going full speed like a tank, hit that 20 mark, see if it hits. If it doesn't, if it hits a little low, go 10, because it's obviously not going full power. So that's what I usually try to do if I want to take a moving shot. I usually don't. Usually just wait for it to stop, because they do. And yes. So now we're going to hop over to the tandem rounds. So with the tandem rounds, you're going to notice that if you ever shot a tandem round and tried to use this top, you're going to notice that it shot way wonky or way off. And you're like, what just happened? That's because the tandems are a little bit heavier and they actually use a different shooting method with the scope. So for tandems, this double stacked line here, that's going to be your 50-meter mark. Okay? I know it's a little bit confusing, it's a little bit hard to get, but this double line, that's your 50. Pretend that this guy is here. This one is your 100-meter mark. It's obviously a lot further than these two, but yes, that is how it works. This is your 150. This is your 200. Yes, the tandem rounds only go up to 200 meters, which is kind of sad, but that's the way it works. And if you want to use the miles per hour ranging again, you're going to want to look right here. These are perfectly lined up here, so they do in fact work with the tandem rounds as well. You just don't have it on this side because it's taken up by the Ranger. So yeah, that is basically how you use this scope. I'm gonna shoot the different rounds out of it. The tandems are gonna wait till we hop over to hat side, but yeah, I'm just gonna show you the basic rounds out of it. Okay, so as you can tell, when we pull it out, hold X, you cannot range like that. You have to manually range. So while looking at that vehicle, you know that that little dot is the 100. You can easily hit any vehicle you want up to 500 meters away, which is pretty awesome. I like the scope a lot if you know how to use it. It's very helpful. Remember that all of launchers has a 25-meter arming distance, so you can hit targets at 50 meters pretty damn easily. So yeah, that was the RPG-7V2. Let's hop over to the next launcher. Okay, so now we're gonna hop over to the RPG-7, the last LAT launcher that we have today. So when you hop over, it's the only launcher that's with the insurgents. When you hop over to it, you're gonna notice that you have two fragmentation rounds as well, or frag rounds. Remember, those are meant for infantry only. You want to shoot the heat round at the ground, like I just scare the bejeebus out of myself. You want to shoot light anti-vehicles, not such as like BMPs like this. You want to generally track these. However, you're going to notice that it has a very basic RPG scope that we're all familiar with, and a very basic X and scroll wheel ranging. It goes up to 500, which is awesome. Goes down to 100, which is okay. And yeah, it's the basic RPG-7. I don't know why it just lagged there, but yep. So now let's hop over and we're gonna start going through the HAT launchers, and that's gonna take a little bit of time, so buckle up for that. So just to remind you guys, before you pick the HAT roll, you want to make sure that you're getting the right launcher, the right projectile as well, just in case you get the wrong one, you spawn in, you launch all the way. So just make sure that you're getting the right one. So just to go over the RPG-29, what it is the with two tandem rounds, it can destroy multiple vehicles alone. It's the only HAT with two tandem rounds. It's a heavy armor 400 meters and has an arming distance of 50 meters. So this is where the arming distance changes with each weapon pretty much. So the RPG-29 is 50 meters. So the RPG-29, as you can see, pretty basic. You can hold shift to zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. You hold X, it goes up to 400 meters, goes down to 100. It has an arming distance of 50, remember? Pretty simple. Generally don't want to hit center mass when you're this close, but That's okay. So, yeah, this is the RPG 29. Remember, the cool thing about getting this one is you get 2 tandem rounds, and that's pretty awesome. So, the other launcher for the Insurgents are going to be the RPG 7 again, but this time you're going to get the Tandem Heavy. So, with the Tandem Heavy, you can range down to 50 and up to 150, where with the high explosive, if I can load it a little bit faster, there we go, goes up to 500 and goes down to 100. So you just got to keep that in mind, that the range does change with the RPG 7 when you're actually loading in a different projectile. Okay, so now over to the Americans. They have the M3 MAAWS, or the MAWS. It has a heavy armor, that's the use for it. It has tandem heat and smoke rounds. Ranges on optics at 50-meter intervals. Can also range with X and the scroll wheel. Tandem ranges to 500 meters. Heat and smoke range to 700 meters for a combined total of 1,200 meters. 2 heat rounds as well, so that's pretty interesting. So let's see what this scope looks like. So as you can see, it's a little bit more basic. With the numbers on each side, it goes up by 1, 2, 3, 4, 500. And as you can see, the little ticks between the pluses, those are going to be the 50-meter intervals. So that top one is actually going to be 50, and it's going to be, that second one is going to be the one that you're going to want to hit the vehicle with. So that's pretty cool. Let's load this in. Let's check out the ranging on this. So when I was saying this is a combined total, you can range up to 700 with the X and the scroll wheel. Let's just do 1,000 right now. I think that's the 1,000 one. So if I go all the way at the bottom at the 500 and I shoot, smack daddy. So when you're shooting that far, you want to shoot definitely center mass. Anything generally over 300 meters, you're gonna want to shoot center mass. However, that's the M38 the M38 MAWS. Has smoke rounds as well. It's pretty basic. It's for the Americans only. Yeah, so let's hop on to the next launcher. With the Russians, you're going to have the choice between 2 launchers. The RPG 7v2, which we already went over with the LAT. So I'm just going to refer you back to earlier in the video to go over, because I even went over the tandems there as well. I'm only going to go over the RPG 28 for this one. Okay, so for the RPG 28, the use is obviously heavy armor. The ranging goes up to 500 meters. The Russian HAT longer range, and it also has more damage tandem round. The army distance is 35 meters as well. The only difference is, as you can see, is you can't press X and use that to guide you. You're going to have to use the abysmal sights that you have in front of you. So as you can see, that right above that 3 is like a weird N. That's your 100. I know it's very weird, but that plus is in fact your 100 meters. So yeah, so it goes 1, 3 to 5. You can sort of guess between that if you want, but it does have the little vehicle ranger for you, so you can manually range. So yeah, this is one of the more incompetent RPGs. This is the RPG 26, which is a heavy armor use. It has a ranging of 250 meters. The Russian had shorter range and less damage heat rounds. So You are going to get a shorter range, however, you can manually range it. Although it does, of course, have that abysmal 100-meter sight on it. So, yeah, that is the Russian hats. So let's start with the less interesting British launcher, the M72A7 Law. This is for the heat rounds. It's heavy armor. Its ranging is 400 meters, and its arming distance is 25 meters. It's just like a basic law, except it's for heavy vehicles, so you can shoot heavy vehicles. It's pretty basic. It's just a law. The cool one is in fact the N law. So it is also for heavy armor, but it is also for helos as well. It has a PLOS attack and direct attack. It is for British only, British hats only. PLOS is actively tracks your target. That's all that means. It's just a cool term. It just actively tracks whatever you're aiming at, and the optic will flash red when ready. So, sadly, I don't have a guy to drive around for me. However, when it flashes that red indicator around, that's when it is ready to fire. So I wish I had someone to demonstrate a vehicle for you guys, but I don't. So yeah, you just hold it on the vehicle. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. If there's no, yeah, there it goes. And I did it right when it unflashed red, so it didn't lock on. So yeah, so that is the PLOS. Sorry about that, my recording messed up. So that was the PLOS attack. The direct attack is just when there's no red indicator, you just simply shoot at the target directly, and yeah. Okay, so for the very last launcher, we have the Gustav M2. The cool thing about this is it's only for the Canadian faction, and also you can get a high explosive round for anti-infantry. It's the only anti-infantry round for the Blue 4. It's the only faction on Blue 4 that has the anti-infantry round. It is also a launcher that can range from 100 to 700 using X and scroll wheel. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the Carl Gustav. It's pretty standard. It has the high explosive anti-tank. They both range all the way up to, actually I think the high explosive only goes to 500. Let me check that real quick for you guys. No, they both go up to 700. So yeah, so the Carl M2 Gustav, pretty normal gun, normal launcher, and that's about it for the breakdown of all the LAT and HAT roll. I'm going to go over a couple additional notes just to wrap up this video. So yeah. Alright, so I just want to wrap up by giving you guys a little bit of gameplay knowledge on how to play this, how to play the roles and everything. Generally, you want to aim center mass when aiming past 300. When using the binos, don't count the full turret on all the vehicles. Some of the, especially the wheeled vehicles. The wheeled vehicles are a little bit higher than the tracked vehicles. Tracked, you want to include the turret. For the LAT and HAT, do not waste rockets on Logis if you do not need to. If you do not need to, don't. If they are getting an emergency hab up, that if they get this hab up, that's going to be their foothold, destroy that Logi at all costs. But without a doubt, you shouldn't just be shooting at Logis if you see them at any point. Leave those up to the vehicles. When leading lightly armored vehicles, like the Spandrel, aim towards the front to land the hit at the rear of the vehicle to destroy the engine. You don't want to be shooting either like at the front of the vehicle, because there's nothing to hit there. It's not going to do enough damage in one hit for you to explode the vehicle. When a vehicle is moving, you want to get that one hit to either track it or you want to engine it. You don't want to just get some random hit on it. You want to be aiming for a specific target. Insurgent LAT and HATs can take motorcycles on missions to reload their explosive if a rifleman is not present. This is especially important on the Insurgents HAT side because they have 2 tandems, and if they can be a hell of a team if you get a guy on a motorcycle or get 2 guys on a motorcycle going around blowing up all the vehicles. So yeah. Another thing to keep in mind, angles on armored vehicles deflect LAT rounds, Abrams for example. So even if you get a rear shot with the LAT, you can do damage to a heavy armored vehicle because they have really bad armor at the back. It will just deflect if it's at an angle at all. You have to hit it very blunt. Always reset your zeroing after you have your shot your rocket. If not, this can lead to awkward situations where you overshoot way too far above your targets. And you don't want to be that guy that your whole job is to shoot the target and you miss. It's your one job when you're a ladder hat is to hit your target, and if you miss, you kind of pooch the bull there. Run around vehicles if you're close to immobilize the vehicle. If you have no ammo left, to distract them from the other anti-tanks. Some turrets turn very slow and can be easily outrun at close range. You don't want to do this at long range. You want to be right in the guy's face, running. Generally, with tanks, you're not going to be able to keep up with the guy that's running around you. He's just going to be there running around you. You just have to accept that. Crewmen that are trying to repair the vehicle are always exiting behind the vehicle, or in case of tanks, on top. So always remember that. So in tanks, if you heavily damage the vehicle and they say repaired before, and you expect a crewman to hop out, he's going to hop out of the top. If it's in a BTR or some APC, it's going to be out the back rear doors. If a crewman are repairing the vehicle in cover out of your line of sight, use a grenade to injure or kill them, or fire a fragmentation rocket at the ground close to the vehicle for the splash damage. It's pretty self-explanatory. You don't want to get the crewman to get that track up so it can move. You don't want that crewman to repair that wheel so it can start moving. You want vehicles immobile as possible. Because if they're mobile, they can go get repaired, they can go get more ammo, and they can come back and shoot more. So, yeah. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a comment on what I did right, what I did wrong. Please leave a like, and subscribe if you want more content like this. Thank you.